Hello and welcome to the second game here. Again, SK Telecom Team 1 versus K2, also game 2. We'll just be going straight on the way. So last time around, SK Telecom, they lost in the early game. Then they gave KT a Baron after SK Telecom. They started up the Baron, if I remember correctly. I'm a bit surprised to see Yuntera and Blank start in again, because I think Yuntera didn't have a very good game last time around. Obviously, he wasn't put on a very good champion at all. Like, he was forced to play Cho'Gath, and obviously that means that he's going to be giving up a lot of pressure. And that's not going to be favoring SK Telecom at all, especially when they are going up against Map. But I'm surprised to see that Blank is still starting in. I would much rather have had someone like Blossom come in. Even Wolf, I think, would have been better in this position. I think Blank simply isn't doing anything. I think that he was very passive in the last game. And for what SK Telecom they needed someone who could protect their territory, make sure that nobody could get into the jungle, and basically just secure their lanes so that they lost no towers. That didn't happen. Blank was forced to go onto a Sejuani. That's fine. I like the Sejuani pick, but he just gave up all pressure, never tried to gank top side or bottom side, and that meant that in the end, SK Telecom, they had no real pressure coming from the jungle. But now they are starting in nonetheless, so let's see how this goes. Varus being locked in for KT. I like that pick. It worked out really well for them in the last game, and especially if they're going for an Olaf once again, which I would like to see from KT. Then that Varus pick will obviously open up for some good ganks and even some fights in the mid game, which will play around the favor for KT. So yeah, just lock in Olaf. SK Telecom, they really had no answer to the Olaf last game. They just weren't able to really do anything against that Olaf. Olaf, once he pops the Ragnarok, would just run into SK Telecom and decimate them. And again, I feel like SK Telecom, they are going for a bit of the same right here. Like, they aren't done with that draft yet. But if they pick a late game scaling top laner, if they don't pick someone with early game, and if their support doesn't bring any pressure down to the bottom side, then they've made the same mistake and completely given over the early game to KT Rolster, which they don't really want to, because if they do so, then KT Wolves, they'll just give them the same treatment as they did in the last game, and then SK Telecom, they will lose this series 2-1. But looking at the carry top laners, like, what is still left open? Camille is still a possibility. Riven, Jace. Like, I haven't seen Yuntera play Riven or Jace before, I think, but Camille could be locked in here for SK Telecom, and it would work fine because you have a Sejuani, where you could pair up the Glacial Prison with. I don't think you need to put priority on the Tahm Kench, because again, you need someone who can be aggressive down the bottom side. Tahm Kench is just there to save Bang, and right now SK Telecom, they are banking on doing the same as they did in the last game, where it's all about just making sure that they don't lose their towers, that KT, they aren't getting any ground to work with. And now, because of you locking in the Tahm Kench and going very defensive in the bottom side, Camille will obviously be locked in for KT, because Camille simply is just the best top laner that you have left right now. Yuntera and Jax, I do like that decision. Like, it's what I talked about, how you need someone in the top side who can draw attention, and I think Jax is a good alternative to a Camille or a Gangplank. That is someone like those two who can carry. I think that is a good alternative. I'm just not convinced that Yuntera is the right guy to do so. I think Foul would have been better. Basically, just anybody else than Yuntera and Blank, because I think Yuntera and Blank, they are probably the worst top and jungle on SK Telecom right now. Unfortunately, I don't like to say that, but unfortunately I think that's true, that Val is just better than Yuntara right now. Has proved himself to be a better top laner, or at least a more consistent top laner than Yuntara. And then you have Blank, who has fallen very far from grace. I think he has some good games from time to time. It's just very rare that we see those good games come into effect for him, and therefore I think I'd much rather put in Blossom or Wolf, these two guys that they have not a lot of experience in the jungle, but they can bring some unpredictability to the table if you want to. But SK Telecom, again, same strategy as I've said. Just make sure that you don't lose your towers early on, because if you lose your towers, then KT, they can do the same. They can, as in the last game, they can start to push forward and place down vision, and that's exactly what you don't want from SK Telecom. If KT, they are allowed to go into your jungle and get vision, then suddenly it will be very hard to fight back as SK Telecom, because of them having this late game scaling team composition. It's not about the early game, it's not about the mid game. What they want to do is have Faker just farm up on this rise, and then have Bang in these late game fights buff them all up. And then obviously Yuntara should be a good split pusher towards the mid to late game too. But SK Telecom is going to be hard to get there. If a Blank is not active in this game, as he wasn't in the last game, then they don't really have a way of doing so, unless they do get some sheer luck, because Score will not be passive in this game. He has the Olaf. Olaf is there to just push forward all the time to try and look for ganks all over the place. And even Smeb up in the top side, obviously on the Camille, will also be looking towards finding picks and just pushing forward all the time. That's what he is doing right now, trying to poke down Yuntara. He's not exactly pushing, but he's trying to poke down Yuntara with the help of that arcane comment, and it's working out really well. Yuntara now has no more pots left up in the top side, unless he gets the Kleptomancy. And down in the bottom side, a lane that should be pushing for SK Telecom, the Sivir and the Tahm Kench, is having trouble. You have the minion dematerializer on the side of Wolf, and that should have been able to set up a good gang, but Bang just hasn't invested the mana yet to try and push up this lane. So SK Telecom, they are giving up a lot of pressure already. 2 seconds. No, I'm fine. I think that might help when I'm sneezing. But KT, really all they have to do is constantly push in. Right here, okay, Score comes up. Okay, no big advantage coming off of that. They don't get the flash away from Yuntara, but Yuntara had already been forced back to try and buy something to try and sustain this lane. He's really getting, I would say, manhandled right now. Like, you are not even 5 minutes into the game and you've been forced to teleport back to buy up a Targon's Brace, sorry, a Relic Shield. So it's not like you're having a good time up on the top side. It's not like it's a part of your scalingness, where, let's say Faker, he's going for the mana crystal in order to scale up and get the Tear of the Goddess, and that is problematic for SK Telecom. But KT, they are already playing this early game really well. You can see how Score, he's been very active. Blank has been reactive. He's been everywhere that Score has been, and that's good, because that means that you can then try to stop a Score, which is obviously what SK Telecom, they should be doing right here. So yeah, but KT, what they're doing right now, continue to do it. You're grinding down the bottom side tower. You can see how they are constantly pushing in. It's not like a lot of damage has come onto it, but continue to just push in the bottom side. Then try to get the control over the mid lane. If you can get that mid lane priority, then you can roam down to the bottom side. You can also pick up an Infernal Drake for yourself. So it would be very nice for them to try and do so. Now, double teleport coming in from SK Telecom, I'm very much interested in seeing whether or not this strategy will work out for them, because in the bottom side they now were able to go back On Sivir and Tamkins, they teleported in, and now with those minion dematerializers that Wolf has, and obviously the BS sword that is on the side of on Bang, a nice big push should be able to be created, and therefore they might just relieve some of the pressure down on the bottom side. But it all depends on whether or not Wolf is actually there, because if he is roaming as he just did, well then obviously you will be giving up some pressure. Oh, that was really good by Blank. Really good. Denying away the red buff from Score is exactly what you need right there, because if Score hadn't been able to steal away that red buff, you would lose out on some experience, which would set you back. But oh, Smith has the flash away. Okay, so but for KT to push in onto the jungle of SK Telecom like that was a little bit risky. You don't have a lot of vision to work with, but it was also the right decision. You need to do so, because if you can push in, if you can place down the vision, then you can create that momentum for yourself. So I like the decision to try and go for it, especially when you know it should be up, but unfortunately Blank just knew that you were coming. And while KT, they haven't been able to get control over the jungle of SK Telecom yet, they have been able to get control over the river, which is looking out rather well for them. They are having so much vision in those river. 2 fights coming out, Yuntera getting manhandled again, and the bottom side of KT getting away. I'm not even quite sure what Yuntera was doing there. Like, you know you have no vision of the jungle. Down in the bottom side, a fight is happening. Okay, so look here. Okay, wait, he flashed in. Wait. That's not true. That can't be true. Did he flash in? Jesus Christ, Yuntera. A fight is about to happen down the bottom side. You've just attracted the attention of Smep, and he doesn't have a teleport. There's no reason for you to flash in here. You have a TP advantage. You can teleport down to the bottom side if needed to do so. You wouldn't have a good place to teleport, because you can see here there's really no way that nothing to teleport on. But you don't flash in here. There's no reason to flash in here for Yuntera. Again, you have no vision, you have teleport advantage, and fight is about to happen down the bottom side. You don't need to kill Yuntera, and you don't know where Score is, because you have no vision. So Yuntera, you deserve to die right here. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. Yuntera, that was a terrible play, and you deserve to die. And well, you end up giving up the first kill over to KT. You end up giving it over to Smep as well. And now, because of Smep getting the first blood, obviously he will be stronger than Yuntera at this point in the game up in top side, because he has a Tiamat. He can push in very easily against Yuntera now, and he also has a CS lead. Good play by SK Telecom, however, to get onto Deft with the help of the Tomkins' Abyssal Voyage, which does net them an Infernal Drake, so it's not all bad. For SK Telecom, they just need to have a little bit more of a clearer communication right here in this game at this point, because they don't have many chances to screw up. Like, they need to really walk the line, and if they can't do so, they'll just end up falling off whatever means of transportation they are on, because if they fall to just a little bit, if they give up just a little bit of gold to KT, if they give KT a finger, then KT, they will take your whole hand, and that's not what SK Telecom want at this point. They are 12 minutes in the game. They are even. They haven't lost a tower yet, and they have an Infernal Drake. It couldn't be better for for SK Telecom. Like, all they need to do is just continue this way for 7 more minutes, and they should be in a position to actually try to fight against KT. So, SK Telecom, very happy with the way this game is going this far, but still lacking a lot of vision. Something that KT have been doing really efficiently, getting all that vision, now slowly pushing into the topside jungle of SK Telecom too. I think that KT, they have the right idea in mind. They just need to push a little further. They have not a lot in the jungle yet. And if you had Marta and Score just consistently try to place down the vision, or even have everybody with those pink wards try to place down the vision, then it would be so much easier to get that control. But for now, having control over the top side is fine. Rift Held, after all, is probably the next priority for KT, because it would allow them to then get a fairly safe tower. But they still need to get deep vision before they can do it safely. Okay, so, okay. Teleports are... Damn, okay. What happened there? Okay. Okay, I want to see. Alright, so look for the teleports up on the top side. Okay, so we have Blank, who goes down there. He's not spotted on... Oh, he will be spotted on one ward. So he's spotted on one ward. He goes in. Bang doesn't have any mana, and you can't really get onto death at this point. I would say go for Marta, burst him down. You try to go onto death, but Bang has no mana. He's slowed down by the glacial fissure, and then obviously Score comes in. Double teleport comes in from Faker as well as Smep, but Yuntara tries to stop Smep up in the top side, which ends up killing him because of Smep just being able to go onto him. So yeah, I think you should have either went onto Marta there, or just disengaged the fight at all. Completely, because you wouldn't really be able to kill Death. You had literally no damage coming in. Bang was very low, was slowed up as well. Look here. So look at the glacial fissure. It's a really good placement. It completely denies Bang and Wolf away from that fight. Bang is caught up right here. Same goes. Sorry, Bang is here. Wolf is here, and they have to move over at least half of it. That slows them down. That means that Death can go all the way down here because of them being slowed down. Oh, he's also hit by the Chain of Corruption. Okay, so that changes things as well. Because of Bang being hit by the Chain of Corruption, obviously, there's no way that they could realistically get onto Marta and Death, because of Bang being locked down for so long. So SK Telecom, that's them not knowing when to disengage completely. Unfortunately, it was a good setup. I think it just was a better disengage by KT. For now, however, they finally are getting a few items in on the side of SK Telecom. Oh, Blank is caught out. That's what happens when you have no vision. You can't walk into the river without having any vision. Especially not if your enemy, if the enemy team has more vision in your own jungle than you. Then you will just be punished by walking into the river right here. Smeb also, I think it was roaming actually down towards the mid lane because Score was around there as well. So fortunately they just found Blank. But nonetheless, now the time is for KT to slowly push on into the jungle of SK Telecom and try to get down those towers. Obviously, no towers have fallen yet for SK Telecom, so they're still in a fine position. But all these kills racking up onto KT means that they are getting resources to work with. And the biggest problem for SK Telecom now is that 2 of the kills, they are in the hands of Smep. And because of Smep having these 2 kills, Yuntara, the guy that should be split pushing, or at least drawing attention away from drawing attention away from SK Telecom towards the top side, is not doing that well at all, because he is getting manhandled by Smep. You see how he's able to pushing constantly, but he is just slowly getting torn down by Smep. And Smep, with the help of a Tiamat and getting closer and closer to his Infinity Edge, sorry, not Infinity Edge, Trinity Force as well, just does pack a bigger punch than Yuntara. However, SK Telecom getting another Drake. I talked a lot about in the Pink and Ban phase about how I think Blank and Nuntera wasn't the right pair to go into this game. How they weren't able to really do anything in the first game, and how they gave up a lot of momentum and pressure. And how SK Telecom, I think they're making the same mistake by picking up the same composition again, which forces them. Oh wait, actually my webcam. I forgot to switch my webcam. There you go. About how they've made the same mistake by building the same composition. I think we're seeing the same thing again. A bit. I think SK Telecom, they're playing better around their weaknesses this time around. Blank is actually being more active on the map. Like, he's still very reactive to what Score is doing, but he's being more reactive. I think the biggest problem for SK Telecom is still Nuntera. He's not at a skill level where he can realistically go up against Smap. I don't think that he can ever beat Smap. Nuntera is a fairly good top laner. Like, he's okay on his good days, but if he doesn't hit the good days, then he just will not be able to really go and kill Smap, because Smap is the third best top laner in the world, like, yeah, or at least top 3. So Nuntera is not even close to that. I think you would have a bigger advantage with Fall. But at least SK Telecom, they are forcing fights this time around. They are being both active and reactive in this game, and actually will get the first tower of the game. So it's all going very well. So it's all going well for SK Telecom at this point. We are at the 20-minute mark at this point. Like, you have an Abyssal Mask and a Rod of Ages scaling up on the side of Faker, Trinity Force and Tiamat now on Nuntera. Another item will now come in for Bank. Sorry, from Bank. Bang, his first crit item, I think. Yes, and like, all of these items coming in does mean that SK Telecom, they are in a 5 position. So if they are in a position to 5v5 at any point, then they should be able to at least go even with KT. I think KT, they still have the the advantage because of their composition here in what should be still the early game. But SK Telecom, they have a very effective team fight comp. They just need to work it out correctly in team fights in order to win. But for now, playing the 2 side lanes as well as the mid lane is something that KT, they'll have problems responding to. You have Pawn with no teleport, so obviously he can't match up Faker in the side lane. You have Nuntera with a teleport, and Smap with a teleport, so obviously those 2 guys can match up. But all the time, SK Telecom, they should have a man advantage because of Faker then forcing Pawn away from whatever fight will happen. And SK Telecom, they still need to scale up, obviously. Like, they still need 1 or 2 more items on their carries before they can really do anything. But securing the Baron, making it so that KT, they can't get a safe Baron, which they are doing right now, is the right way to go. Like, KT, they weren't able to get a Rift Herald. So right here, I would say Baron is their shining hope, because if they could get a Baron, then having those strong minions would be the way to push faster and actually get some towers. So therefore, securing the Baron vision, or at least getting control over the river, would be a big priority for SK Telecom. Something that they are neglecting a little bit right here. I can understand why and not Infernal Drake is coming up. So I would much rather go to try and get control over that Infernal Drake, because you already have one. And getting control over the Infernal Drake would mean that you then have 16% extra AD and AP. Okay. Faker dead. How is Faker in that position? Okay, so he walks around. Yeah. And what does you? Oh, okay. So Faker takes the cheeky route. He takes the very cheeky and risky route. Shouldn't have gone to that place. Oh, I remember that play. That's so beautiful by Smith. Killing entire. So that's a big mistake. Like Faker, instead of going around here, like instead of going all the way around here, should have went all the way down here, all the way down around, down to the trapdoors. Because obviously you put yourself at a risk of getting killed when you go around there. You don't know if there is any vision there. You know Score can roam very easily on the Olaf, but you also, because of you putting yourself at a risk of getting killed, you also create a disadvantage for your team, because if you die, then your team will have trouble getting anything done in the next few minutes, because you lose so much momentum and priority over Summoner's Rift. And now that means that 2 kills will be given over to KT. They'll also get that Infernal Drake most likely, and their first tower, no first tower of the game for them. But nonetheless, very great mistake from SK Telecom. Like, I just talked about how they should just be looking to group up. Like, all they had to do is group up and look to fight as a team. They have to fight as 4 or 5 units. A 4 or 5 man unit. They have to look towards objectives, and if they can play the side lanes as well, have Faker on the top side and Utara on the bottom side with a double teleport, then it's going to be so hard for KT to respond to. But SK Telecom, they instead make that mistake of sending a 2-man unit down to the bottom side, and a 2-man unit simply isn't stronger than a 2-man unit from KT. And well, they give up kills, partly because of a mistake coming from Faker. But also now they lose that Infernal Drake, so not a smart decision by SK Telecom. And now SK Telecom is just getting run around the arena a little bit. They, because of them giving up that Infernal Drake and giving up all of that momentum over to KT, KT obviously were able to get a little bit more vision, or at least regain their vision, but also now we're able to take down 2 towers. And that means that we do have a gold lead for KT. And the goal lead for KT means that they have an easier time getting this mid-game composition to work. I don't think it's a bad composition at all in the late game. I just think that SK Telecom, their composition is just so much more focused on late game than the composition of KT. But KT obviously has some clear weaknesses and strengths in the late game. Oh, Score. Guys? What? So, I think the play is fine. I think the play right here is completely fine. You get onto Score, but Blank is not there. Like, you shouldn't be looking to make those kind of plays if you don't have your jungler, who is your primary engage and CC. He comes in towards the end, but you look right here. Look here, right here. Blank is all the way up here. Like, how are you going to fight without Blank? Your only real mean of CC at this point is the counter strike coming in from your Tara, and it's not like you're going to be able to hit that at all. So, a big mistake from SK Telecom, forcing fight. Like in the last game, it feels like that once you put them on an edge, they'll be very desperate and look for anything that they can, which just isn't working out for them. They should be taking their time, because now they have given up the towers, and that means that KT, they have more room to play with here on this map. So just take their time, place down vision. There's no need to force anything, as long as you have vision in the Baron pit, as long as you know that KT, they're doing that Baron, then SK Telecom, they don't have to force anything, because Baron is the only should be their only concern at this point. Like, they are okay with losing the outer turrets. They are not okay with losing the Baron, and because they don't have any vision now around the Baron, it has been started, and it might just go over to KT? No, KT, they will play safe. Wolf goes down. Blank has to steal the red here. Are you serious? No, wait, what? Wait, did he try to dash in from all the way there? Okay, so Blank? What was that? Like, if you want to commit to stealing, then actually do it. That was half-assed. Oh well. SK Telecom, they do get the consolation prize of a Mountain Drake. So it's not that terrible, but losing the Baron, that's terrible. KT, as I said, once they open up the outer turrets, that means that they now have the possibility of pushing in to the jungle of SK Telecom. And now with a Baron, so with a hand of Baron, the Baron buff, KT, their minions are so much stronger. They can just push in towards the inner turrets and maybe even get an inhibitor turret at this point in the game. Taking down towers will at least be very fast because of Pawn and Death being so efficient at taking down towers. So SK Telecom losing the Baron might have just been the gravest mistake they could make in this game. And KT is, they have a gold lead of 6,000 now. Like, how do you deal with this from SK Telecom? You don't really, like, all you have to do is try and turtle, but now a Baron up cannon minion with a banner is here, and this might just be a fight coming in soon for KT because of them just being that much further ahead than SK Telecom, especially by getting that Baron. So, that's an inhibitor. Will we see another inhibitor down the bottom side? Okay, no, so they don't overstep their boundaries on the side of KT. But at least they do push their boundaries. That's really, really nice. I like how KT, they knew that once they got the Baron, they could really push in. And they don't even have to fight against KT. Sorry, SK Telecom. SK Telecom, they would want to initiate that fight. If you can even call it a fight. But KT, they knew that with the help of our chain of corruption and Pawn's consistent damage, then it wouldn't be hard at all to get a kill. And now next step for KT, continue to push in. There's not a lot that SK Telecom can do. They're nearly behind 10,000 gold at this point. There's a Guardian Angel on Death as well, so you can't even kill Death, and if you get the kill onto Death, you will survive again. Then you also have to deal with Pawn, who's a big problem. Score will jump onto Bang without thinking about it. So very hard for SK Telecom to find the right thing right here. And I feel like the biggest problem for SK Telecom that has been in these two series has been that they have made some very rushed decisions, which has cost them the game several times. Like, they've lost 2 Barons off of their rushed mistakes, because that's what happened in game 1, where KT didn't win because they got a Baron. Same happens here in game 2, most likely. So SK Telecom, they need to learn to take their time. They need to learn to be more patient, because they had a good grip over the majority of this game. They were in a good position for so long. They had only lost 2 towers. Like, they just had an Infernal Drake and an Ocean Drake to work with. All they had to do was just group up, play this or play the side lanes with a double teleport from Yuntara and Fager, and then they could draw this game out. Then they could make it so. Sorry, then they would have been in a position to make it so that KT, they simply couldn't use this mid-game advantage that they had. But SK Telecom tried to force a fight onto Score where Blank wasn't there. Wolf died, Yuntara died, and that meant that SK Telecom, they had no way of getting back into this game. They lost a Baron off of it, and now that gave KT just the last nail in the coffin. So Two inhibitors down already. Not Mountain Drake. Elder Drake has spawned, and you only need one more inhibitor on the side of KT before you have all three. SK Telecom, they're in a very bad position. They shouldn't be fighting here. You have no teleport on your Terra. Realistically, he wouldn't be able to get in there very fast. And KT, they are this far ahead. Like, this has to be the game right here. There's nothing that SK Telecom could do there. I would say, give up. The Elder Drake, it's not that strong at this point. I know it's been buffed in 8.4, but I think it comes around. Actually, I think it comes at 35. So never mind me. But you don't even have to fight for the Elder Drake. It's not that big of a problem. You have super minions coming into your base. That's your biggest problem right here. You don't want to worry about an Elder Drake too. And if you don't have your Terra there, then you can't force the fight. Even if you got a good fight, you'd have to kill Pawn first, but also deal with Score running onto Bang. And now, with Pawn being dead, you also have to deal with Death then. And Death has a Guardian Angel, so you shouldn't realistically be able to deal with him. So, SK Telecom making some big mistakes. They need to get their communication in order before they can really start to take on these big giants like KT Wolster. But I would say that it looked better in this game. I think that Blank did better in game 2 than in game 1, but I'm not impressed by his performance at all. But thank you all for watching, guys. This was the second review here for SK Telecom versus KT from week 7, day 3. Remember, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Follow me, then you will be able to see what I go and do in my everyday life. So thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you another time.